One and all. Okay, let me just find the video so then I can read what's going on in chat. Turn my volume off because I don't want to listen to myself repeating. There we go. Janet's here already. That's nice to see. And Teresa. Okay. Let's move that back just a tad. So we don't want to see my big fat stomach. Move it that way a tad. Oh, that's maybe a tad too far. And down a bit. Hi there, Jean. Hi there, Posh or Oosh. Whichever you prefer. Fancy meeting you here, Maureen. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Beverly. Good to see you all. I've got my brew. Have you got yours? Hi, Anita. Hi there, Mumsy. Ah, dear. It's good to see you all here again. I haven't frightened you off then after last night's live. I thought that a few of you might be like, oh, we're not going through that all over again. Brenda got here early and patiently waiting. Oh, bless you, Brenda. Either will do, says Posh, or Oosh, as she is now, as she is now known. Oosh. Hiya, Margaret. Quick, Margaret, go and get yourself a brew, love. Oh, you've got biscuits as well, Teresa. That's not on. I hope you're going to share them. Hi there, Kim. Well, it depends what device you're watching it on for a start off, Janet. But normally the chat is on the right hand side. You might need to click on it, and then you need to, there's top chat and there's live chat. There's a little arrow next to them, and you need to click on live chat. Hi there, Helen. I would love to. Maybe come to Sweden, Carol. Yeah, that's a little bit like you coming to Yorkshire, isn't it? It's like, it's not going to happen. Did I say left-hand side or right-hand side? Right-hand side. Left for left. Left for right. Just finished a nice bagel with cream cheese. Oh, well, I've just had steak. Actually, it was a joint of beef, but I cut it up into steaks. Steak with roast potatoes. Here for the party. No party tonight, Cindy. We're down to serious business tonight. Serious work. Yeah, it's a long way to come, though, just to bring a biscuit, Teresa. Okay, I think that we're going to start. Did you say your signatures yesterday, Maureen? I bet she didn't. Because it was quite late by the time we finished last night for us. And it's even an hour later for you, Teresa. Ooh, that sounds so much better. What, you all coming here with a biscuit? Can I just tell you, I haven't met. There's only 2 of the moderators who I've met in person. We do FaceTimey stuff, but actually meet in person, I've only met 2 of the moderators. So I cannot see comments on the pad if in full screen. Oh, well, you're going to have to take me off full screen then, Cindy. That is if you want to read the chat, that is. And Brenda loves hidden spines. Ooh. Hi there, Carol, my namesake. She could have done them this morning, though, Teresa. She could have done her signatures this morning, couldn't she? And, you know, it's not like she had anything else on to do. Oh, my steak and potatoes. Okay. Hi there, Linda. Right, I'm going to make a start because I know that you're all chomping at the bit. Not. So can I just ask, after yesterday's live video, how many of you who were sort of real apprehensive about sewing in a signature beforehand, how many of you feel more confident about sewing a signature in now? Did it help at all, yesterday's live? I'll just wait for a response. Where's my cup of tea? I'll put it away. Come back. Yeah, that's a good idea, Posh. If you have your screen on your device and have chat on your phone, there you go. Well done there, Posh. Hi there, Wendy. So Anita said it helped massively. Oosh says she feels more confidence. I take it you're a she. Kim saying it helped tremendously. Good. Teresa said, I'm not apprehensive, but appreciative because it was a great tutorial. Thank you very much. Oosh says it was an excellent tutorial. Oh, thank you. Takes a curtsy. That was me taking a curtsy, by the way, doing that. Definitely more confident watching you do it. Think I might be a bit more confident. We'll do one tomorrow. Okay, so today we're doing a hidden spine, and I've got my little note in front of me because I still couldn't remember the name of it. So I know it, but my memory the way it is at the minute, because it's running 100 miles an hour, there are words that evade me. So so this way, last night's was about just sewing the signature into a hardcover, and I might even show you how far I've got with decorating it. It's not finished yet on the front cover, that is. So I might show you later when I take my cup of tea break. Okay, but this one is going to be the hidden spine version. Okay, so I have written some notes for you. Hang on, I've got to put my glasses now. Let me just clean my glasses on my t-shirt because I'm dead posh like that. There we go. Clear as mud. All right, so this is my little book of notes that I make for you guys. And oh, stay on. I've still got something on my face that's going in front of my eyes. And I'm just going to bring the camera down so that if you watch the replay, you can take a screenshot of it. Hi there, Laurie Lee. Do I need to go down a little bit further, maybe? Is that better? Let's see if we can get her in square. You're very welcome, Laurie Lee. Right, so before anyone starts having any kind of a panic attack, there are two ways of doing this hidden spine. Still got glue on my hands from earlier. This is the way that most people know, okay? As I say, I'll just leave that there for a second so that you can take a screenshot of it. Oh, just bear with me. Typical, someone at the door. Going up and down those stairs kills me. Sorry about that. Pizza delivery. Not for me though, it was for next door. You're gonna have to bear with me now while I get my breath back. Okay, what was I saying? So, there are two ways of doing it. This is the one that most people will know. All right, so I'm going to zoom back out now. Let's hope I can get the camera back in the right place. Right, that's as straight as a donkey's hind leg. Take it back that way a bit, Carol. There we go. All right. Whoo! So, let me just go through. I'm going to go through this method first. And then I'm going to go through the other method. You've all gone very quiet. Okay. Is everyone still there? Hello? Give me a nod and a wink if you're still there. Oh, you're still there. Good. Okay. So, you need to make, if you're going to use templates, you need to make two types of templates. The first one is the spine template, and the second one is the signature template. Okay. What's that Brenda's put? I can't put a video on TV today. There's other people in the house are watching a movie. Oh, I'm very inconsiderate of them. Okay. So we have got our book cover. So we've got the front cover, we've got the back cover, then we've got that little divot area there. Okay, hi there, Max. And then we've got the spine. Now it's the spine measurement that we're talking about. Okay, not from the front cover to the back cover. It's not the space between there and there. It's the space between there and there. Okay, so front cover, divot, and then it starts the spine. Back cover, divot, and then it starts the spine. And that's the measurement that we need. Okay, so we need the height of the spine, which is A. We need the spine width, this bit here, which is B, there. C, the top of the spine to the signature, and I'll go through this again in a second. The bottom of the spine to the signature, the spacing for the stitching, and how many signatures. Okay, so put that to one side a minute, and here's one I prepared earlier. So this is me admitting now that I have eaten some dairy milk, orange fingers, chocolate fingers. If we were using this as our cover, we can see that there's no divot here, as there is on a hardback book. So it's basically from that fold to that fold would be the spine area, right? So if we flip it over. So we need to cut a piece of card that fits inside that fold line. I don't know why I'm nodding my head when you speak, Carol, as nobody can't see me. That is so funny. It'd be even funnier if you started answering out loud. Oh dear. So we don't want the spine to be the same width as that area. We want it to be fractionally inside that fold line. Okay. Now, if we're talking about pages, if we sort of make a page for a journal, no matter what size or what type it is, we know that we do it slightly shorter at the top, slightly shorter at the bottom, and slightly shorter than the width of the cover. All right, so that when we close it, it sits in there nicely. So let's go through this bit again. Make a note of all the measurements. So the spine height, which will be from the top of this card to the bottom of the card. The spine width will be just inside that crease line to just inside that crease line, because we need to make sure that it sits in there nice and comfortable, so that when we close it, it's not encumbered in any way by the fold. All right. C is the top of the spine to the signature. So if sorry, I've just read what Sarah's just put. Good evening, ladies. How late am I? Do I need my tenor ladies handy? Oh dear. So top of the spine to the signature. So as I said, the pages tend to be smaller than the cover. So we have got this bit of a space from the top cover to the top of the page. Okay, and the same on the bottom, from the cover to the bottom of the page. All right. So we need to know what that space is, and it's normally round about 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch at the top and 1/8 of an inch at the bottom. All right, but you still need to make a note of that, and you'll see why in a bit. And then you need to do your spacing for your stitching and how many signatures you're going to put in. So in this cover, I would probably stitch quite comfortably 3 signatures in there, dependent on how many pages I use and the thickness of the paper. I might only get 2 in, but I could quite easily fit 3 in there. And then I would need to mark down how many holes I'm going to need for my stitching. And as we discussed in last night's video, that is all dependent again on the types of papers that you're putting into your signature and the size of them. So if you've got all the same size, then you could get away with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. If you've got lots of varying sizes, you probably need a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. Okay, so that's the kind of measurements that you need. What do I need next? Yeah, so let me show you this. So this is the template that I've made for this particular cover. All right, so that hang on, what's that? Oh dear. Right, the other Carol, not this Carol. So this piece of card, and I've used a piece of file folder here to make this this template, and it is the right width, so it sits comfortably inside those fold lines, and it's the same height as the cover. All right, so that and that can close, and that spine template sits comfortably inside the cover. I've marked 1/8 of an inch from the top, and I'll give you a close-up of this in a moment. I've marked my 1/8 of an inch from the top, and I've marked my 1/8 of an inch from the bottom, and that is where the height of my signature pages are. I do have enough file folders, Margaret. Right, so then I want to work out the spacing for how many stitches I'm going to be putting in. So in this instance, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. And there would be 1, 2, 3 signatures. Okay. So I will show you. Hang on, let me put it the right way around. This is the template that I've made for myself. Bring it down so that you can see. Tilt it, Carol, so that it's a square on. And towards me a bit. There we go. Have I come the right way? Yes, I have. Okay. So you can see that I've written on here that it's an 8 3/4 inches high by 1 inch spine. I've written on there, oh, I haven't spelt signatures right, look. There's 3 signets and it will be a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. Now, the way in which we measure this is you need a good ruler and you need to be quite good at mathematics. Where's my pen? There's my pen. Where's my ruler? There's my ruler. Now, as I say, I have got an easier version of this, so don't go like, ooh! All right, and in fact, let me just bring this down a touch more again so that you can hopefully see. Okay, because a lot of people struggle with the mathematics of all of this. And especially when it comes to like, right, I've got to divide that number and then I've got to add that number. There's a much easier way. For those that are mathematical minded, this one will be for you. Okay, so we know that, where's my page? So we know that the top of our page lines up with this first line up here. And we know that we want our first hole to be about 1/4 of an inch-ish to 1/2 an inch-ish from that top. So we know that we're going to need a stitch here. Okay, by the same token, let me move that up just a little bit. Make sure I'm in shot. Okay, by the same token, we know that we're going to need another one down at the bottom here. Again, it's about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch-ish. Very ish. And then we need one in the middle. And then we need one that is halfway between those 2 points, which will be round about there and round about there. Yeah, well, don't worry. Everyone that's putting up panicking about measurements and stuff, don't panic. Ignore this part, right? Just listen. Don't worry about taking it all in, because there is an easier way, all right? So breathe out, now breathe in again, and breathe out, and now breathe in again, okay? Now you can work all of that out mathematically, all right, by measuring the distance from there to there, from there to there, from there to there, and from there to there, okay? So as you can see, I've drawn lines using my ruler where I want those 5 holes to be. Move that up a little bit still. The other thing that I've done is I've drawn a line right the way down the center of the card, because that is where, if I'm doing 3 signatures, that is where my middle signature is going to go, right in the middle of that card. We then want a signature to the side of that, to the right, and a signature to the left of that, to the left. So we measure out from there to there. And again, it all depends on the size of your signature and the size of your spine. So where those lines cross, that is where you will poke a hole where those intersections are. Okay, and that is how we will then mark our holes on here. Where's my bit of foam gone? There it is. You don't have to be good at mathematics, but you do need to use a ruler to work it all out. So, poke it all. Let me move up a bit. So I'm going to lay that template on my spine area, and I'm going to poke a hole at each of those intersections. Now what it means, cross-fingered, is that all of these lines, all of these holes, sorry, will now be in line with each other. So you know when you see that someone stitched in their signatures and they're all lined up beautifully, this is probably the technique that they've used. Okay, so that's all my holes are now poked into my spine. And this is a template that I can now keep and utilize again if ever I do another cover that is the same size as this. That's why I've written the sizes on here, and although I can't spell, that it's for 3 signatures and it's for a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So I can keep that template and use that again. So once I've worked out the mathematics once, I don't have to do it again because I've got my template to be able to do it. And as you can see, you're left with all the holes in hopefully a straight line. All right, Carol, don't worry. I'm going to go through an easier bit for you in a minute. Everyone's panicking like, George, stop it. Yes, you need to know how to do this, but there's an easy way of doing it. I'm just showing you the thought process behind what you need to do. Okay, so we've got these holes now in place. Now then, when it comes to putting our signatures in, how, when they're open, do we know where those holes need to be? Okay, it's difficult. And this is where you need the second template. So the second template is for your signature. And we don't need as many measurements as we have here for the spine template. It's much less information. So you use your measurements from the spine template. We want A, which is the height of the spine, C, which is the depth from the top of the spine down to the top of the page, D, which is from the bottom of the page to the, from the bottom of the spine to the bottom of the page. And then we need to know how many holes and what the spacing is between those holes. All right. And again, I'm using the file folder, and I've cut it much wider because this width measurement doesn't matter. But what I've done is I've folded it in half so that, where's that bit of paper gone? There it is. So that folded in half piece of paper can sit inside my signature, and I've now got the placement of the holes. So we've marked off this 1/8 of an inch space. Move that out the way a minute, which is from the top of the cover down to the page of the signature. That's that 1/8 of an inch space. We've done the same on the bottom as well. Then I could use this as my guide for marking off the spaces. So I can see, look, if I run my pen across there, I need to put a hole in that little crease just there. If I run along there, put a hole there, that's now in line with that. Put a hole across there, and across there, and across there. And I would also write on here top. So you know that that is always at the top, because if you put it the wrong way around, then it won't match. It won't fit. With the best will in the world, it won't fit properly. Okay. So I've written the same information on here. And if you notice, I've labelled this one A and this one A. So I know that these two are joined together. I've written on here the same information. 8 3/4 inch by 1 inch spine. A 5-hole pamphlet stitch. 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So I know that this works with this one. All right. So once I've used that to mark my spine, and I've created this now to mark up my signatures, and then I can poke the holes through all of those, and then when I come to put my signatures in place, I know that those holes will line up. Okay, does that, although I know it's complicated, does it make sense to you all, even if it's only ish? Do you understand the principle of it all? Hello, those latecomers. I saw you sneaking in. Okay, it's good to see lots of yeses coming up. I'm glad it kind of makes sense. I'd wait, Max. That is unless you don't want to hear the easier way of doing it. That's what I've done. Top. All right. So that's the principle of marking a spine and then marking your pages in your signature. Right. That's making those templates to be able to do that. Okay. Now then, just get myself sorted out here. I finished with you, so you can go over there. I want to talk to you about this one. Well, if you put it on replay later, Marilyn, I've left the picture up for quite a while whilst I ran downstairs. Well, walked very fast. So you can take a screenshot of it. All right. I'm fixing to throw my phone against the wall. I can see chat rolling by, but no Carol. Oh, it's a bit strange. All right. So as we've already discussed, we want the spine area, which is where my thumbs are there. Not to here, because that's the end of the book board. That's the spine area. So we need something that's going to fit inside that spine area. Okay. I love that. Usha's just put, seem to be breathing but irregular. Oh dear. Now we're going to do what's called the hidden spine, which means that we're actually going to attach our signatures to something else, not to the cover. We're going to attach it to something else, and then we're going to attach the something else to the cover. All right. And it means then that there's no stitching like I did last night where I stitched through the spine. There's no stitching through the spine. So you don't see any of this stitching at all. All right. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a piece of calico fabric. All right. You can use whatever fabric you want, but it needs to be quite a nice, firm, sturdy fabric. Now, I know that we call it calico here in the UK, and I know that overseas you call it something else. And I can't remember which way around it is that you call it. So we call muslin, and then we've got cheese. So we've got cheesecloth, then we've got muslin, then we've got calico, and I think that you do it. Oh, thank you, Lorelei. So you do. Hang on. So what did I say? Cheesecloth. So what we call muslin, you call cheesecloth. What we call calico, you call muslin. I think. It's a thickish cotton, but it's calico. Okay, try and give you a close-up of it. So that's sort of what it looks like. Okay. They're trying to tell you something, Teresa. Teresa always gets a bra ad, apparently. So yeah, you just call it by a different name to us. No, it's not poplin. Poplin's different. This is heavy duty calico. Okay. And again, we're going to need file folder or some sort of card that isn't too thick. Right? It doesn't have to be a file folder, but it is sort of quite a nice weight to be able to use. And you'll also need graph paper. Let me just get, oh, I forgot to get the small one out. Just hang on. I'll just get a sheet of this small one out. Oh, I've got scribblings on that bit. Didn't know that. Oh, I know what that is. There's some instructions I write down on a pattern. Oh, you didn't turn that out very well, Carol. Okay. Using graph paper saves you having to measure with your ruler, because you just use the squares on the graph paper as your guide. Now, as you can see, this is causing havoc with the picture. It's all sort of like, woo! So I'm going to swap over to some bigger graph paper so that hopefully you can all see it a lot better. Okay. Put those all to one side. And I want that. And I want that. So my spine is, oh, let me just, hang on. So I've already done this already. Hang on a minute. 1 inch and 3/8. Okay. So let's say that I'm going to use, let's do it to this end. So I'm going to choose a line, any line, don't matter what line. Move the foam out of the way as well, Carol, that might help. I'll start that line again. Right, so that's the line that we're going to use to start with. I'll come on to that in a minute, Anne. One thing at a time. So we want to measure 1 inch and 3/8, which is our spine width. So if I put that down on the graph paper, 1 inch, 1, 2, 3/8, which is to that line there. Right, so that's my spine area. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just chop that out. And then I'm going to use the squares to work out my measurements. Now this is a much larger version than what I've used. So I've used the smaller version because obviously then it gives me smaller measurements. So to measure 1/8 of an inch on here will be difficult. So you need to pretend that this graph paper is smaller than it is. All right. I'm also going to chop one off the top just to make it nice and neat. So if we imagine that each square is 1/8 of an inch, so there's my 1/8 of an inch line, which is where the top of my signature is going to sit. Then we want the measurement. Oh God, that stupid blooming ice cream bands here again. All right, so that's to there. Can you hear the ice cream van? All right, so I'm going to chop that off there. And that's the height of my spine. We're going to measure in 1/8 of an inch, which is about there. A 99 for me. And then we know that we can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares. All right, because this is the edge of the spine here and here. So we've got 7 squares. So we know that 3.5 is the center. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3.5 is the center. 1, 2, 3.5 is the center. Draw that center line. It's coming nearer now. Ugh, drives me nuts. He comes round twice a day. Then we want to choose a spacing for our next 2 signatures either side of that center one. So let's go there and there. So here I'm not doing any measuring. I'm using the squares as my guide for my placement. So as I say, I'm not doing any measuring. I'm just using the squares as the guide. All right. So then we can count how many squares down this is to be able to find the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 36 squares. So half of 36, 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So that one there, that line there, is going to be the center point. And half of 18 is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 is going to be there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is going to be there. So you see, I'm not using any ruler. All I'm doing is counting the squares. I'm going to come down 1 square for the top holes of my signature. Where these intersections cross are the other holes for my signatures. And 1 square up. And there you go. So I've done exactly the same thing but using the squares on the graph paper as my guide. I would then glue that to this piece of file folder to just make it sturdy. And I'm not going to do that because I've got one already done. Okay, but I would, yeah. So this I would stick to the file folder and then I would cut it out. But what I would do is if you remember, that was the spine width there and there. So I would then need to chop that bit off and chop that bit off. Okay, so here's one I did earlier. So if we're going to chop it down, let's just chop it down. So that is the width of the spine. Just following the lines of the graph paper. We can also chop off that 1/8 of an inch at the top and the bottom because we only need, because this is a hidden spine, we only need this to be the same height as our signatures. Now I've already gone through and I've paper clipped all my signatures in position, the same as I showed you last night. And if we have a look, this then is the same height. It's not, because this was the pretend one, but here's the real one. So this is the real one where I've done it to the same height as my signature, not the same height as the cover, because this is a hidden spine. We don't need that extra little bit of card at the top and the bottom. So this is now what I'm going to stick to my piece of calico fabric. Let me just clear the space a bit. Now I've cut this so that it's wide enough to expand beyond that spine area. So it's going to go across to here, okay? So that this can sit there. Can I ask a favour? I know that you love your little side chat of your cocktail bar and all of that. Can we leave that for the time being? Only because I just don't want people to get confused in chat with everything else that's going on, because this is quite heavy instruction to take on board sometimes. We'll have a chat about the cocktail bar and all the rest of it later on. Okay? Sorry, I'm being a bossy boots now. So this is my template that I've made for this book and for these signatures. And I'm going to stick that to my fabric. Now, what you could do is, instead of sticking it to a piece of card like I've done here, you could stick it to Tyvek. But the fabric acts as the what's the word? The alternative to Tyvek, because this is not, you know, it's not going to fall apart because it's a piece of fabric. So let's use the fabric tack. And I'm going to stick this onto there. And then whilst the glue's setting, I'll then talk to you about the next bit. And then that will sit there. And as you can see, I've cut the piece of fabric so that it is longer, and you'll see why in a little bit. And as you can see, it's a lot easier doing it with the graph paper than it is taking a ruler and a pen or a pencil, measuring it all out, drawing your lines, trying to find that spot, knowing how, you know, all you got to do is count some squares. Okay. So now we also need, hang on, I've got that many bits of paper over here now. I've lost it. Where's it gone? Bear with me a minute. There we go. So, well, the lid's not off for very long, Teresa. Teresa's just asking me how my breathing is with using this because of it having acetone in it. The lid's not off for very long, so I'm all right. So this is the same principle as this. So that is this. And I need to make one of these, which will be this. And again, doing it on the graph paper makes it easier. So I've cut out a piece of graph paper the same size as this, the same number of squares. And again, I've stuck it onto a piece of card, and then I can line it up, and down that center line I can mark off. And again, it's easier to just follow the lines of the graph paper to find the spots where I'm going to poke the holes to match up with this. Follow the lines across to that center line. Follow the line across to that center line. And I've now got the markings that I'm going to need to put in my signature. So I'm just going to run my rule down there and my bone folder to get that to fold in half. Because as you know, I like to poke my holes in whilst my signatures are at an angle, right? So then I can sit that inside of my signature, line it up at the top, line it up at the bottom, and poke my holes in. And those holes will match up with these holes that I'm going to make here. All right, I'm going to zoom out a bit now because it's making the picture go a little bit wiggly with being so close. So just bear with me a sec. Let's get it in the right place. Is that about right? Nearly. Yeah. Let's just try that. Yeah, that's fine. Clear my decks so I can see what it is that I'm doing. That's number 2, that's number 3, that's number 1. Okay. And I'm going to, trying to lift it off the fabric after I've glued it on. So I'm going to write on here. Hang on. Height of my book is 7.5 inch. So 7.5 inch by, I forgot what I said, was it 1 3/8 or something? 1 3/8 by 1 3/8 spine. I'm going to call this one B. I'm going to call, let's make sure I've got it lined up right. Yeah, so this one's B, and this is the top, and this is the top. Okay, what other information did you put on? 3 signatures. Let's see if I can spell it right this time. Signatures. 5 whole pamphlet. this on here, 7.5 inch by 1 3/8 inch spine. 3. Oh, it doesn't matter how many signatures on this one, does it? So ignore that one, but it is a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. Pamphlet stitch. Right. Now I didn't need to write it on this one because this is actually going to go inside of my journal. But if I'd done this as a template that I wanted to keep, that's the information that I would write on it. The same as this one. Okay. So now we need to poke some holes. Look, those. There we go. Couldn't find that again. So we're going to poke a hole in here and here. And I'm not going to say that for every hole. But that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to poke through every hole, because this is now acting as my spine and not the spine on the actual book. If I turn it over, I can see those holes. Now, if you are using fabric like I am, there it is. You can use a fabric marking pen, and these are water erasable. And they come in various colours, but the most obvious one to choose is a blue one. That's how they normally come. And you can mark on the front with your blue pen where they are. And in fact, I'll just show you on there. Look, so you're right on there. But if you mark off your holes so that if your fabric starts to close in a little, as the fibers sort of go like, oh no, I need to be like, and it closes back up, at least with the blue dots you can see sort of where your holes are. But I was going to spit on my finger, but I'm going to be a lady, which is a novelty. And I'm just going to spray that with a bit of water, and it just disappears. All right, so once you've stitched all your signatures in place, you can just wet the tip of a brush and just paint around where that blue bit is to just get rid of it. Okay, so we're now going to use this one to punch holes in our signatures. So I'm going to sit that in there, make sure my signature's the right way around. Yeah, that's going to sit in there. Just fold it over and crease it again. Hang on. Need to use, my hair's getting everywhere. Just need to use my bone folder to just crease that up a bit. Okay, that's going to sit in there. Top, it's at the top of my page. And then, as I'm going to poke it. And again, poke it. And again, poke it. And if you want to, you could paper clip this in place so that it holds it in place for you and you know that it's not going to move. And poke it. And if you wanted to, you can remove that and then just go through your signature again to make sure that you have gone right the way through to the other side. Okay, so that's one done. Second one, take my thing again, make sure I've got it the right way up, make sure the top is at the top, line that up and poke it, and poke it, and poke it, and poke it, and poke it. And again, like I said from last night, if you want to sit this either in a book cradle or in a telephone book or in a thick, heavy book, open it up and sit this in. It acts as a bit of a cradle then. I'm doing it without. Well, that's because I's a lazy monkey. Right, so that's number 2 done. And number 3, do the same again. Make sure this is the right way up. Line that up. Make sure top is at top. Put that in there. And you guessed it. Poke it. Poke it. Poke it. I'm just going to go through those holes again. With this being a dark purple, it's not so easy to see those holes. Okay, so that's that bit done. So we've poked the holes in our spine, we've poked the holes in our signature, and now we can stitch them together. So at this point, taking a slurp of my tea, I am going to sew. So if anybody has got any questions, I'm going to do it white again. Yeah, I'll do it white again. If anybody's got any questions, now is the time to ask. I'm just going to lift the phone up just a tad. There we go. So let's use you. And again, because I'm doing 5 holes, I go once, twice. Oh, that was the spare bit. I'm not using that bit. Try again. Once, twice, 3 times later. 4 times, 4 and a little bit. Squizzers. You put them away, Carol. Now then, I was asked this question last night. Which order is best for attaching your signatures to a spine when you have more than one? You can tell Ed Spanner if you want. Max, she's not here. Right, so I've got my 3 signatures there. And I'm going to attach them. Oh, just knocked something on the floor. So I'm going to attach them to this. So this is far more flimsy to deal with than it is an actual cover. All right, so in some ways it's a little bit easier. In some ways it's a little bit more difficult. But in what order do you attach your signatures? Do you attach the middle one first, or do you attach the first one or the last one? It is purely personal preference. I can't say that there's a right way or a wrong way to do it, but I'm going to start off with the first one, and then I can push that to one side and then do the next one. So I'll do it in order by going 1 and then 2 and then 3. All right. So I'm going to go through that middle hole, and it goes through the middle hole there. Right, because I'm doing this left-hand side one first. Make sure I've got it top. Yeah. So this left-hand side one first, and we're going down that middle hole. All right. This needle might be a tad too big. I think it is. Let me just swap needles because this needle's a bit too big. It's struggling to get through the hole. Let's try you. See if I can thread it now. I'm going to do it this way round, Jill, so that people can see what it's like. And as I say, it's all personal preference. Right, stick your tongue out, Carol. Oh, the thread's splitting now. Hang on, let me just snip this thread at an angle. That's the other thing, you know, if you've got a thick thread, if you flatten it and then snip it off at an angle, you end up with a bit of a point. And sometimes that can help you thread your needle. It's also difficult because this needle's bent. So where I want it to be, it keeps curling round. Come on. Go through. Fiddle-a-diddle-a-dee. Come on. Play nicely. There we go. Okay. Let me move them and then you can see to carry. Right. So pull that through and then we're going to go up that second hole. Just exactly the same as we did last night. And then I can, you probably can't see this, but I'm putting my needle in the hole here. Okay, spin it back round. Okay, pull that through. Go down that top hole. Your pages have shifted a bit. Let me just repoke. And invariably it's going to go wrong because I'm on a live. Because it always goes wrong on a live. Never goes smoothly. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. So through that third hole. And then through that third hole at the top there. Okay, I'm just going to pull them in. There we go. So back down that second hole. Try not to pierce the thread. Okay, back down that middle hole. So this is the boring bit for you guys now because I can't speed this up. And you're just going to have to persevere with me doing these. Okay, I'm just going to pull those in a bit to tighten them up. Do you know, I got 2 thumbs down on last night's live video. I was thinking I'd love to know why. But then I thought, maybe it was the the spammers, you know, the bots that came on, because after we finished the live, there were several bots. Can't find me all. Where is it? There it is. Come on. Come through and play nicely. So this needle's a tad too thin, and the other one was a tad too thick. I've flattened my pages out, whereas I like to normally work with it at an angle, don't I? So maybe that might help. Hang on. I have to poke that hole again. There we go. All right, try again. Back through that hole and through that hole. There we go. That's easier. I think some people just don't like the lives and they don't like the chat. And because someone actually commented, you know, it's hard to, because I can't read the chat. So that's why I read the chat out now, so that if I'm responding to a question or something, I will read out what you've put, so that they can't go like, what's she on about? We've not got a clue what she's going on about, because I've read it out. So, I don't know. Some people, you just can't make them happy, can you? I mean, I tried my best. And to be fair, like, you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But it's like, if you don't like the video, don't watch it. You know, just stop watching it. And maybe it's your expectations that haven't been met. And that says more about your expectations than my video. So, yeah, there you go. So there you go. I've pulled all those stitches in. And again, like last night, I'm going to slip it underneath that first stitch there, so that I've got a thread on each side. Hang on, that slipped under. There we go. Right, so we've got a thread on each side. And I'm going to form a loop, tie a knot, form a loop, and go through it twice. And I always think, you know, if you don't like my voice or you don't like my method of teaching, just switch the video off. Don't need to know that you didn't like my video. Okay. So that is now my first signature in place using the hidden spine method. Okay. So what I can then do is I can push that off to the side, and I can use maybe my bigger clips. Use my bigger clips to just hold that off to the side a little. It's not going to be a perfect solution, but it's better than a smack in the mouth. Okay, so that's just going to hold that off to the side, and now I can start to work on the second one. Second signature. Let's make sure I've got it the right way up. Just get some more thread. In fact, I'm going to use a different thread. Use this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and a bit. That wax thread is a tad too thick. I think it's you've let someone and they just keep coming back to haunt you because they're just that way inclined. Like, I didn't like one thing that she said, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to taunt her. It's fine. You do that if that's all you have to do. And why aren't you creating something instead of being nasty? Well, you don't get to see all the... I don't know whether any of you have noticed, but the thumbs down, the dislikes bit, you don't get to see them anymore. Okay, back through that middle hole. And I'm going to go through the middle hole of the next part there. Okay. It's going through a lot easier. Spin it round. Go up to that next one. There we go. Spin it round again. You see, it gets quite cumbersome when you haven't got the solid book cover, but it does create a nice effect when it's all done and dusted. Okay, so that's the first 2 holes done. Now onto that clip's come off, so I'm just going to take it off because it's going to get in my way. There you go. Up to the next one. There. Pop it through the hole of the spine bit. Pull it through. Right. Down to the next bit. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Ow! Stabbed myself again. I did that last night as well, didn't I? Weather's been really changeable here today. This morning it was really cloudy, overcast, miserable. And then this afternoon the sun came out and it was bright sunshine. Okay. And quite warm was the other thing. So I need to do that because I need to find all of my signature. It's there, look. I can see you. There we go. I like that. Should Carol be given sharp implements? I have actually got thimbles. I hate wearing thimbles. I actually purchased a special thimble, and I'll show you it in a minute, because when you've got, in fact, let's show you it now because then it's done then, isn't it? When you start to get long nails, a metal thimble doesn't sit on the top of your finger. So I got one of these. It looks like a ring, and so you sit it on your finger where you wear it, and then you close it up, and then you've got that there to then push and act as your thimble. And then your nails even aren't encroaching within the gauntlets. I don't need gauntlets. I do this quite happily when I'm on my own doing it. I never poke my fingers or anything. It's because I'm doing it on YouTube. Hey up, I've lost me. There we go. Oh, I found the hole. Then it went and moved. There we go. Hole and hill. Okay, just pull it in again. Make it a bit nice and tight. Come back up in that one. And that. Pull it in. There we go. Slip it under there. Tighten that up once, and then again, but put it through once and twice. snip it off. So that's number 2 in place. One more. Let me move all these bits of thread. Okay, so now I can push that across out the way, and I can see this last row of where this signature is meant to be. Okay, and again, what I can do, although that first one was a bit rubbish because my clip didn't quite hold anything in place, what I can now do is I can actually clip those 2 signatures together, if it'll fit. Will it fit because of all them paper clips? Yeah, it'll fit. Okay, so I'm just going to push that off to the side. Those 2 signatures are held together by that clip, and I can now see where this 3rd signature is going to go, which is in there. So let's get some thread. Clean my deck so you can see what it is that I'm doing. Too many things going on my desk. Okay, measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a bit. So what you can do for practice is you can start to make up, have a look at the types of journals that you make. See what sort of sizes of journals you tend to make. And you could make yourself up some templates in advance so that you've got a selection of templates ready to use. If you tend to use the same kind of size journals, if you use make different journals each time, different sizes, and there's no point, you might as well just make them as you need them. Okay, this one's going to be more cumbersome because I'm having to deal with these 2 signatures, a piece of fabric, a wayward thread. So there might be some cussing and cursing on this one. Let's have a look, see if we can. If it goes like a dream, I take it all back. I've just pulled the thread right the way through. Oh no, I haven't. Oh, there was nearly swearing then. There was nearly swearing. Okay. Through that top hole. Through that top hole. Okay, now I can pull them in. Make them snug. Snug as a bug in a rug. Through that. Come on. Go through all. I know where you want to. There we go. I think I've just split my paper a little bit. But not to worry. I can add some washi tape on that later. And back through that middle hole. Down you go, and down you go. There we go. So I'm sorry, there's not an awful lot that you can see right now because I'm having to hold this in such a way that I can actually do it. But I hope that you're getting the gist of what's going on. And then down that one. And through that one. But if you remember with the one that I did last night, I didn't measure. It was all just, you know, using my own eye as to the spacing. If you want your spacing to be all the same and uniform, then you need to measure them. But I didn't measure last night. I just went for it. Because you don't always need to measure. Unless, as I say, you want that uniform kind of look. Hang on. Can't find a hole again. There we go. Through there. Up through there. On. There you go. See? Okay. And we're done. I just need to pull those in. Make sure that they're nice and tight. Pop that under there. Tie it off. Once, twice. Clip, clippity clop. So now those 3 signatures are now stuck to that piece of fabric and cardboard that I've got there. Okay, and then we're going to stick this into our book cover. So there you can see that they're all nice and uniformly spaced out. Okay, now then, I cut my fabric a bit taller than the actual spine cover, and that's because I want to fold that over, but I need to trim a little bit off because I don't want to cover over those top 3 holes. So I need to just trim it down just a little bit first, and then I'm going to fold that over. Okay, so just a bit freestyly cutting. So, and it just helps to hide the top edge of that piece of card. Now, if you wanted to, you could put a piece of paper. So I could put like a purple paper on here, so that if you look down the spine, then that's what you see, rather than this that's visible at the moment. Okay, and then put a little bit of glue there, just help that down, and there. Oh, I think there's 2 cats outside fighting. Okay, and I'm going to do the same across the bottom. I'm just going to trim a little bit of this excess off. Put glue on there. Fold that over. Just hold that a minute. A little bit of glue there. A little bit of glue there. And then that can go like that. So you can see now we've got this lovely neat edge across the top where the fabric is. I don't know whether you can see that okay. All right. I'm also just going to trim this off at a slight angle. And that. Just before I came on, you know, I was watching Inn of the Sixth Happiness. I love that film. It always makes me cry. Always. No matter how many times I've seen it, it still makes me grizzle. Put a drop more glue in there. Now, if you look at any kind of old book, they have what is called a headband. And I'll show you one in a minute. So that's those now just slightly angled. Because I did put it in there. There it is. Okay, so this is the headband that I took from out of the Reader's Digest books when I took them apart. And basically it's a piece of fabric and then it's got this strip across the top, which is normally it's wound around, okay? And that is what sits at the top of the page like that, the top of the spine, so it gives it a little bit of a decorative edge. Now you could put, oh, I just get some, we'll use that one, I think. You could just put a piece of lace across there just to make it look a little bit pretty. Except this lace has got a bit crinkly, so I can't use that bit. You're too crinkled. Let's just see. Yeah. So if I go, ooh, 3. 3 is the perfect number for this lace. That's good. 1, 2, 3. Johnny caught a flea, put it in his pocket, and he had it for his tea. So I'm just going to put a little bit of lace, top and bottom, just to finish it off a little bit, and just to give me a nice decorative little edge. So we'll put you at the top, and you'll just overhang the top a little bit. Bit more glue there. And then the same at the bottom. And you can sit on there. Right, let me have a swig of my cup of tea. And now is the point where, if you want to ask me any questions, you can do before I show you the last couple of bits. Okay, so fire away with any questions. Oh, while I just stretch my back. Oh, so I've been crouched over this table now. That's okay. I've got just put that she's just made a cup of tea, so she's sorry she couldn't make me one. I've got me flask, so I can make myself another one. Well, I'm glad, Oosh, that you found them really great instructions. I know it's pretty, isn't it, Margaret? It's a pretty one. I have a feeling that this is one that I got when I came to America. No questions, Carol. You've covered it all perfectly. Oh, good. If you wanted a ribbon bookmark type thing, you put that on now, Carol. Yep, you would. No questions. It all makes sense. Well, lummy neck. Who'd Adam and Eve it? So yes, as Jill quite rightly said, if you wanted to put some kind of a bookmark on there, it's normally a ribbon that sort of comes from behind here, which you would then place down inside of your signature. Well, on my fingers. So you would stick that on the back at this point as well. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stick this fabric and this fabric into our book, into our book cover. You took the fear out of it, Carol. Yay! I like that, Maureen. You should do this for a profession. Yeah, maybe I should. Oh, dear. Now, what you can do, if you really wanted to, you could put glue all on the back of there and stick it here. Okay? But the way it normally goes is you don't stick that spine bit on. You just stick this bit down here and here. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close the book up and make sure that it's all sat nice and neat inside of there. Lovely jubbly. Sit it down and then I just got myself a piece of the I always forget what this is called, this wax Logan wrap paper stuff, and then I'm just going to open it up, and this is I watched Nick the Booksmith, she did it this way. Okay, and then I'm going to sit that underneath that bit of fabric there, and I'm going to put glue all on here. Now she just used a PVA glue. What am I going to use? I think I'm going to still use my Fabri-Tac because it gives an adhesion straight away, which is what I like, and it is meant for fabric. So I'm just going to put it around all the edges. And then put some through the middle of all of that. Come on. And then I'm going to smear it with my finger. Just a little bit to just even it out a touch. Okay. You have to be quick, Carol, because this glue dries quite quickly. I'm going to leave that in there, and then I'm going to close. Close the book on top of that bit of fabric. Is there a maximum number of signatures before it comes too heavy, relying on the glue sides only? There's no rules with any of this. There's no that's the right number, that's the wrong number. It all depends very much on the cover, the papers that you've used in your signatures, the number of pages that you've used in your signatures. How big is a signature? How big is the sky? How big is the universe? What you mean is, Lucy, how many pages are in my signature? It all, again, does depend. And like I said last night, I tend to put anywhere from 8 to 15 sheets of paper, depending on very much on the paper, into each signature. You know, if I'm using much thicker papers, I probably don't use as many sheets. If I'm using folded papers, I'll probably use less sheets. If I was making what I would class as a proper book, so it looked more like this Reader's Digest as it was originally, I would probably only use 5 pages per signature and have loads and loads of different signatures in it, you know, have far more signatures in there. But it also depends as well what you want to use it for. Some people just decorate journals. They just like decorating it. I know you're agreeing with me, Lucy. I'm just gilding the lily a bit, really. It also depends if you want to write in it. You want a book to be able to lie relatively flat if you're going to be writing in it. So there's no right and there's no wrong. You need to find Janet, you need to find your own sort of thought process of what you want to use your journal for, what papers you want to use, and all the other things that I've just said, because it varies each time with each individual journal. So, as I say, it's very difficult to say that's the right way of doing it and that's the wrong way of doing it, because there isn't one. There really isn't one. And as Nick the Booksmith says, I'm not your mom. I'm sure she says it much nicer than that. Always makes me laugh though when she does say that. I'm not your mom. So, in answer to your question, Janet, I'm not your mom. But yeah, I mean, the rule of thumb is, you know, not to make it too big that it becomes massively bulky before you've even started decorating it. Because then by the time you have decorated, it really will bellow out. So that there really isn't an answer. And you will find through experience and practice what is the average number for you. So I've forgotten how many pages I counted now on last night's journal. Was it about 15? 15 different sheets, I think, in each signature. But that was only a 2 signature one. We'll have a count of this in a minute and we'll see how many there are. So lift that up, stick that down, and we'll just leave that to stick a minute. Oh, was it 17? Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Teresa. It was something like that, wasn't it? She says it in a very sassy tone. Yes, she does. I've got glue on my finger now. Okay. I'm just going to clean my decks a minute. So just hum a little tune to yourself. I think having a nice wide piece of cloth to stick in the book cover is important for strength. Yeah. I mean, you don't want it too narrow, but also you don't want it the full width of your book cover either, because we're going to be putting paper over the top of it. And again, that can also play a part in the strength, because if you add you know, a thin piece of card as opposed to a paper, it's going to be more supportive is the card than the paper, you know. It's all a bit trial and error, and it also depends what you've got in your stash too. You know, I mean, using die cuts with a view paper as opposed to, say, a Tim Holtz or a Graphic 45 paper, there's a big difference between them two, isn't it? You know. So let's hope that these are sticking. I think I might go in and give them a bit of hand. So let's go to the front again. Open that up. Pull that out. I'm going to pop you back in a minute so you can see, look, how that has stuck to there. And it's fine that you can see the glue because I'm going to be covering this with paper. And then I've got a bit of a space to where the first signature is. Let's do this one. So it's all stuck down nice and neat. Now one of the things that I am going to do, let's pop you back there a minute, is I'm actually going to use my micropore again. And with any fabric, there is always, where the fabric ends, there's a very slight step. Only very slight, but it means that when you put a piece of paper on top, especially if it's a little bit thinner, that step is going to show. So what I like to do is I like to put a little bit of micropore on the edge of the fabric to just balance out that step, because what it'll make it do is it just softens it. Because it's so thin, you won't see that step there where the micropore is, but you would where the fabric is. I've got that a bit too big, so let me just trim that down. I think you're going to have to go in the bin scissors because you keep not cutting properly. So with any kind of steps that I have like this, and it could be paper as well, so paper creates a worse step than fabric, but I always put the micropore on the edge to just soften that step a little. And I'm going to do the same on the back piece too. They're only £1, Jill. By the time I've cleaned and sharpened and all the rest of it, could have had a new pair of scissors. Throwaway society, eh? Yeah, I mean, there's book cloth. I mean, there's all sorts of different stuff, you know. You don't have to do just what I've done. Have a look at your own stash and see what it is that you've got. And then, as I say, when you stand it up, we've now got a gap between the spine of the book and the spine of the signatures. And that's why, if it was a big enough gap, you would see that graph paper. So I would possibly have covered that over. But it's a real tiny gap, so unless you're really forcing it apart, you won't see that graph paper inside of there. So I am going to just, there we go. So this was from the digital kit, and I've printed it out onto thin card, and I'm doing the same in both journals. So I would need to cut this down to size, and that will stick on this front cover area here and over the top of that fabric. So that will help to hold that fabric in place, and it will give it a nice neat finish. And I'll do that on the inside of both the front and the back of the cover. Okay, so let's just unclip everything. Anyone got any questions whilst I'm unclipping? Can someone please come and take this giant bag of tortilla chips out of my hand? Is it a case of step away from the tortilla chips? Carol, will you be decorating your pages on video? I will be. I'll come to that in a bit. So I'll take all these clips out. Right, come on. There we go. Oh, I think I put a signature in upside down. Oh no! Oh, that was very mean of him, Lucy. Removing a bar of chocolate just out of reach. Did you find a new idea for your scroll? I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to show you them both. So I'll put this signature in upside down. But hey ho. Yeah, it's printed on a thin card. The inside cover pieces. This one used a lot of paper clips. There we go. Right. So. I love that. It's not in upside down. They're now up tucked. Okay. So. Let's just show you through this. So you can see what this looks like. And then I'll show you what I've done on the front cover of the other one that I was showing you last night. Okay, so here it is. Paper still to put on the inside. Flip out. And this one's a lot plainer. Envelope. Envelope tucks there. Just take the washi tape off that was holding it in place. And a piece there. Then there's a pocket there, and there's a pocket there. That's the other side of the envelope. So that's the other side of the flaps where I put the tags on the other side. So I might put something else on those, but I'm leaving those for now. Okay, first page of the second signature. So as you can see, I've got a tiny bit of a gap there. And this is the one that I lined. So it's all nice and crinkly. That's the up tuck. Thank you, Maureen. That's the piece of vellum that I did as the insertion. So that's now going down instead of up. Little flippy floppy bit there to add stuff to, add extra pages to. That's the one that's going to be all closed up as an envelope. That's going to be the flippy out bit. Just hang on a minute. There you go. I've hid the user from the channel, Maureen. Okay, carry on. That's that other insertion strip that I showed. That's another up tuck. This is the other side of the lined. This is the one with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pockets. And as you can see, it opens out quite nicely, you know. This one, I've done this as like a little envelope piece there. This one, I've done it so that that opens up like that, and that's got a pocket in there. Glassine bag. So even towards the back, look, it's still opening fairly sort of nice and flat. So this one, I've done it as a tuck pocket here and here. It's the centre of the third signature. The side of the glassine bag. That's the one that flips open. But on the other side, it is somewhere a pocket with a little flippy flappy bit. It's the other side of that envelope that I've got to finish off. And that's the 3 pockets again. And then, as I say, this back bit will be covered. All right. So that's how that is looking so far. Okay, with that little bit of lace trim there at the top and also at the bottom, which just gives it a sort of quite nice finish. All right. So I've yet to decorate this cover and obviously do the inside. Now, as you can see, if I just let the journal sit, it's already sort of spreading out a little bit. So that is it sitting in its natural size. Okay. And I haven't put anything in it yet. Okay. So by the time I have filled this with tags and pockets and all the rest of it, again, it's going to be a chunky monkey one. All right. So again, I'll need to have a little think about how I'm going to add the closure, and I will go through that with you. I'm going to show you this one. Oh. This is how she's looking so far. Okay, so I'll show you a close-up of what I've done. So I put the crackled paint piece on the back. Then I put a piece of paper. Then I put the fabric board on that's got the felt underneath it to pad it out. Then I put a piece of silver paper on. Then I put the picture on. Okay, I put 4 pearlized beads in the 4 corners, and I've put pearlized beads around the outer edge of this purple bit. Now I have ordered, hang on, just moving my legs. I have ordered some silver filigree corners. So I'm going to put some filigree corners on the 4 corners of the crackled paint bit. All right. And then on the spine, I've added the crackle paint bit and that purple trim that was included in the kit. So that's what I've put on the spine. And I've wrapped some purple seam binding around underneath this board, underneath that board, and underneath this board. So it brings it all at the front. So then I can produce a pretty little bow and knot there. Okay. And then in the center of this one, I'm not going to undo it. I'm not going to undo it because it's going to spring undone. But I basically took it off. I placed ribbon underneath the scroll, and then I glued it back in place. And then I really tightened that scroll up. Okay. And then I can just tie that up, and that holds that scroll in place. So that's that. Okay, so that's the scroll bit, so that when you close it, you can see sort of the scroll bit here. And again, by the time I've decorated these out a bit, it'll all balance out. At the moment, when it's closed like that, it looks really quite bunched up at the top here. But by the time it's filled out, it'll be quite, you know, the spacing will be about right. Okay. So, where do we go from here? Well, what is going to happen from here on in? No, yeah. What's going to happen from here on in is I am going to do some videos over the next couple of weeks, because this was the project for May. All right, ready for the Jubilee in June. Let me just move that across to there. I am going to make some embellishments that will sit inside of these journals. I've already done some, and I've already done a video showing those. But I am going to be making some more embellishments. There will be the odd 1 or 2 pages that I show you how I'm decorating them, and then the rest of it will be making up embellishments that can then go into these journals. Now, what you need to bear in mind with those embellishments that I'm going to be making, they are going to be based around the 2 royal journals. Just bear with me. Oh, my bum's gone numb. And the British Journal. So the decorations that I will be making, I will be using the papers for either the British Journal or either of the royal journals. You can utilize those tutorials for those embellishments for whatever journal you want, but I'm going to be using the papers for these 3 specific journals. Okay, but as I say, you can utilize those tutorials to make embellishments using other papers for other types of journals. So I don't want you to be put off by the fact that I'm doing British embellishments or royal embellishments. Okay, as I say, they are going to be universal embellishments, but I'm making mine specifically for those 2 and for this one. When you do pop-up shops, what time do you start them? So they run on a week. Normally it's the first weekend of the month, and they start at 10 o'clock in the morning UK time. Now, if you're 5 hours behind us, it means that you're early hours of the morning. If you're 7 hours behind us, it means it's early hours of the morning, like something like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. If you're in, so hang on. So if we start at 10, New York is 5 hours behind us. So it's 5 o'clock in the morning when I open the shop, but the pop-up shop runs until Sunday night. So you have got all weekend, but as I say, it is always first come, first served. I'm UK, but work every weekend. But you don't work on an evening though when you get home from work though, do you, Jill? And shop will still be open. Or lunch break. You'll have to pop in and have a quick look on a lunch break. But yeah, so it's open from 10 in the morning until about 4 or 5 o'clock on a Sunday evening. Okay. So yes, so I will be showing you some decorations that I'm making for these over the next couple of weeks, which will take us up towards the end of June. And then those things that were purchased in the last pop-up shop, I will then do videos on during June. Okay, so that's how it kind of works. Whatever I sell in the pop-up shop, the following month there will be some kind of a project video. Is your lace... Oh, God, yeah, I haven't put that in the shop yet. Yes, it is, Trudine. Trudine's just asking, is your lace paper going to be in your Etsy shop? Yes, it is, once I've got my bum in gear. I promise I will do that tomorrow, because it's now 9 o'clock at night and I'm not doing it tonight. It's too fiddly. And I've got photographs to take and stuff. So I promise I will do that tomorrow. I will put up the lace digital kit in my Etsy store. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before I go about this kind of binding? Has everyone understood how this hidden spine kind of works? Oh, I know. Margaret's always there, 5 o'clock in the morning, putting in her order, but then she goes back to bed afterwards. Okay, Trudine says she understands it much better now. Teresa says yes. Carol says yes. Oosh. I am sorry. I can't stop calling you Oosh now. Oosh says she feels good. Thanks so much. Margaret says she's both dedicated and addicted, or is questioning which one. And Carol, what about the Tyvek hidden spine? I went through that earlier. I said that instead of the piece of card was to actually use a piece of Tyvek. So you know how I stuck the graph paper onto a piece of file folder? So you'd stick the piece of graph paper onto a piece of Tyvek and then put it behind your fabric. Or you could paint your Tyvek. Thank you very much, Maureen. Stumpy's put, I will rewatch yesterday's video to get the answers to my questions. I didn't see what your questions were. Sorry, Stumpy. Kim, great. I don't have to hold my breath today. Whew. Thank you so much, Carol. Super happy I made the live. Thank you for the tut on hidden spines. Perfect timing for you. Good. Okay, guys, if no one has got any questions, I'm going to shoot off because, as you can imagine, it's actually, it kills your brain doing tutorials for this long, chatting as well. I'm glad you found the graph paper helpful, the graph paper idea helpful. That's good. Okay, as I say, I'm going to go off and go and have something to eat. Put my feet up for half an hour. Oh, Stumpy's put. I asked about the 5 holes. Maureen said you explained it yesterday. Yeah, because it all depends on whether you want 3 holes, 5 holes, 10 million holes. Oh dear. Take care and thanks for always sharing and inspiring. You're very welcome. And as I've said, if you would like to share with your friends what it is that you viewed today, and if you make anything, it helps me out a lot if you share with your friends and your groups what it is that you've made. Maureen does 9 holes. That's a bit extravagant, Maureen. Oh, I've had mistaken taties already. I had that before I came online. So I had that just over 2 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago. Okay, thank you very much, ladies. And thank you again, Maureen, for moderating everyone, and Max when she was here as well. I missed saying goodnight to Max. But thank you all for joining me. It's lovely, as always, chatting with you all. And I'll see you, well, I'll see you on Tuesday with a recorded video with something a little bit new, a new technique. And then I'll see you later on in the week, no doubt, with some more videos of declarations that we can make for our journals. So take care, everyone. Sleep well, those that are going off to bed. Enjoy the rest of your day for those that are still wide awake. And I'll see you all again really soon. Ta-ra a bit. Bye for now. Toodle pips.